Dear brothers and sisters, today we'll talk about some of the sahabiyyah, some of the female companions of the Prophet ﷺ. And we'll start with the not so well known sahabiyyah by the name of Nusaybah bint Aqabah. And she's famous for one incident in her life, one defining incident in her life, when she made a decision, and that changed the rest of her life, and she became famous for that amongst all the Muslims. They'd always ask her about the incident. And that was the incident in the Battle of Uhud. And as we know, in the Battle of Uhud, the second battle, there's 700 Muslims against 3,000 of the non-believers. And initially the Muslims were winning, and the non-believers were fleeing from the battlefields. They were dropping their swords and shields so they could run fast, and they were winning. And then, as we know, the 50 archers, they thought the Muslims were winning, so they left their special post where the Prophet said you have to stay, and they went to collect the booty and the gold or things people had dropped. And then Khalid bin Walid, he saw the job opportunity and he outflanked them, and then he started attacking the Muslims from behind. And then the non-believers that were running, they saw they were getting attacked from behind, so they came back, and then the Muslims were in real trouble where they were getting attacked from the front and from behind, which is the worst situation in the battle. And at that time, there was absolute chaos then. There was chaos. And the Muslims and the Sahaba were dropping their swords and they were running because they were getting attacked from both sides. Men were dropping their swords and running. And people were also shouting, Muhammad is dead. Muhammad is dead. Muhammad has been killed. And some Sahaba were hearing this and they were so shocked. They were dropping their swords and shields and they were sitting down on the floor. They believed it and they didn't know what to do. So there's chaos, and amongst that chaos, there's a female Sahabi by the name of Nusaybah, and she's with a small band of Muslim ladies, and her job was really the medical supplies. She would have medical supplies and have water, and they'd be going and helping injured soldiers. But she sees all the chaos and everyone running, and in that moment she makes a very important decision. She says, I'm going to pick up the sword and shield and I'm going to fight. Subhanallah. So she picks up the sword and shield, and then she goes looking for the Prophet, and she finds the Prophet with just 10 companions around him. And there's 3,000 of the Kafirin trying to kill him. And she's going around with a sword and shield, swinging at people, going around the Prophet subhanallah. And later on the Prophet talks about this afterwards, and he says, Nusaybah was better than Fulan, and was better than this warrior, and she was better than that Sahaba, and this one. And he said, when I looked to my right, Nusaybah was there, swinging the sword. And when I looked to my left, she was there swinging the sword. And when I looked in front, she was swinging, and when I looked behind, she was there. So she was going around him, keeping anyone from attacking him, subhanAllah, this female Sahabi. And then, not just that, of the 10 people is her family. 2 of her sons are there, one called Abdullah, Habib, and also her husband. So this blessed family, and the Prophet seeing them, and he's saying, what a blessed family, what a blessed household. And then her son, one of them, gets chopped on his arm and he falls down, and the Prophet's there, he's shouting, Nusaybah, your son. And she goes and she bandages him up, and she doesn't say, oh, my son, sit here, have a rest, or I'll take you day. She says, get up, you'll fight for the Prophet, stand up, protect the Prophet. And this is really showing the famous hadith when the Prophet is with Hazrat Umar, and he says, you haven't got real faith or iman until you love me, Prophet Muhammad, more than you love your parents, more than you love your children, more than you love your own self. And subhanAllah, Nusaybah is really showing the manifestation of this hadith. Really, her iman is so strong that she's going into battle almost, definitely she's going to die, or a good chance she's going to die. And she loves the Prophet more than herself. And even when her son is injured, she's saying, get up and fight for the Prophet. She's loving the Prophet more than her son, subhanAllah. So the story goes on, we can't go all of it in detail, but she kills another man, and then someone comes charging towards the Prophet on a horse full speed, and she intercepts, and she gets a big slash on her shoulder actually, a big injury on her shoulder. And then the battle goes on, and alhamdulillah, it was a defeat, but the Prophet survived. And he never forgot those 10 companions that were around him. He always made dua that he never forgot those 10 companions who defended him on that day. And she goes on, and on that day, subhanAllah, she had 13 wounds. We say about 13 wounds on her body. And this shoulder took 1 year to heal actually, 1 year. And she'd be going around with a bad shoulder, but she wouldn't complain about it, she would be proud of it. if she saw anyone, she said, you see this shoulder? This was defending the Prophet ﷺ, this was. So she was proud of it. And then after that, she goes on to fight in every single battle, subhanAllah. Whenever there's a battle, she would go with her sword and shield and no one could say anything. At the time of the Prophet, at the time of Hazrat Abu Bakr's reign as well, and then into the time of Hazrat Umar, radiallahu anhu, his reign as well, till she's 60, 70 years old. And in one of the later battles, she actually gets one of her hands chopped off. One of her hands chopped. But she doesn't die shaheed, she lives a long life, and alhamdulillah, she dies naturally. So subhanAllah, amazing, really amazing, inspiring lady for the man and especially for the ladies. What a warrior who fought for the Prophet ﷺ, defended the Prophet when other men were running away. And especially as inspiration for the ladies, inshallah we get ladies and daughters like Nusaybah. But look at the Prophet ﷺ's example as well. Yeah, I find it amazing. He didn't say to her, even when she's going to these next battles, he didn't say, oh Nusaybah, why are you going with the men to battle? Your place is in the kitchen. You should be doing the cooking and cleaning. You should be with the children. I know men in this day and age will be saying that. Imagine 1500 years ago, subhanAllah, the quality of the Prophet. And this is one thing Sheikh Shahid said just a few weeks ago. He was the first anti-racist, Sheikh Shahid said, was the Prophet. He was also the first to give honour and rights to the ladies. Honour and rights and respect to the ladies. And this is at a time in the Jahiliyyah when the ladies were treated like the slaves, same as the slaves, and they had the most evil and horrible practices, They used to bury their own daughters, astaghfirullah. And some of the senior sahabas, they even if you gave account of this, some of the well-known sahabas, they said, before we became Muslim, I went with my daughter, she was 5, 6 years old, into the desert, and I dig a deep grave for her, and I'm putting her in there alive, and she's saying, Abu, there's sand in your beard, and she's cleaning his beard. And they're burying their daughters, astaghfirullah. So our Prophet ﷺ came to get rid of these horrible, evil traditions and customs they had. And he taught us absolutely opposite then. Absolutely opposite. He said if you have 3 daughters, our Prophet ﷺ said, whoever has 3 daughters, cares for them, is merciful to them and clothes them, paradise is guaranteed for them, he said about daughters. And then one of the companions said, what about me? I've only got 2 daughters. He said, even if you've got 2 daughters still, paradise is guaranteed for you. And then what did he say about the mothers? The mothers. He said so many things about having respect and honour for the mothers as well. Yeah. Anyone here, put your hand up if you weren't carried for 9 months in your mother's stomach, she didn't take care of you, getting backache, have a painful labour going on for days, she didn't bring you up, staying awake all night. All of us came from a mother. And that's why he said, heaven and paradise is under the feet of the mothers. It's under the feet of the mothers, he said. And once someone came to him and said, who, Ya Rasulullah, is the most deserving of my kindness? And he said, your mother. So, okay, Rasul. And then after that, who's the most deserving of my kindness in my life? He said, your mother. So, okay, Ya Rasul, what about after that? Who's the most deserving of my kindness after that? Your mother, he said. And then he said, after that, he said, your father. Subhanallah. The way the Prophet taught, subhanallah, the way he emphasized in such a beautiful way, your mother deserves the most kind and respect. Times 3, he was saying, subhanAllah. And then also with his wives. Of course, so many examples with the wives. How gentle he was, how kind, how soft he was with his wives and his dealings with his wives. And he used to help at home. He used to help out at home, doing chores. So many examples. He'd go and milk his own goats, which was considered the job of the lady. He was a sunnah to always have the needle and thread. He always had the needle and thread with him wherever he went. And he only had one kameez. He didn't have a wardrobe full of Armani and Nike and so many things. He just had one kameez and he wore that until it was worn out. And he'd fix it himself, holes, and then he'd get another kameez. So this was a sunnah as well. And even once he found a lady from the Ansar who was very skillful with sewing, and she said, come to my house, teach my wives how to sew like this. He loved sewing. Haberdashery, they call it in English. And cobbling his own shoes. Yeah, he would make and cobble his own shoes and sandals. What a skill. Who can do that now? How to make and cobble their own shoes. So why I'm saying this because some of these were considered things the ladies did, but he did it. He was helping the wives at home. And he was so soft and gentle that sometimes they would take advantage of him, his wife. Sometimes they would. And there's one example here we'll go through. But the Prophet ﷺ was older, and his youngest wife, Hazrat Aisha radiallahu anha, she used to get slightly jealous because he was all the time speaking about this Khadija, his first wife who had passed away years ago. And whenever any of Khadija's friends or family they were nearby, he'd always send gifts. He'd say, take this money to them, take this food to them, take these gifts. So he's always sending gifts to the old friends and family of Khadija. And then even sometimes he would be speaking to a lady, or he'd hear a lady, and he would say, SubhanAllah, your voice reminds me of Khadija. It's just like Khadija's voice, talk more. So once Aisha got a bit too jealous, and she said some harsh words to the Prophet, some hurtful words, and I'll repeat them here. She said to the Prophet, why do you preoccupy yourself with an old and toothless woman while Allah has replaced her with someone better? Yeah, stuff like she was talking about herself. She's saying, why are you talking about this old woman when Allah has replaced her with someone better? Aisha said. And as soon as she said this, she knew she had crossed the line, she regretted it. And the Prophet he stood up, and his face went red, and then his vein here started throbbing. When he got angry, the vein on his forehead used to start up, and his hair stood up. And he said to Aisha, Allah has never given me anyone better than her. She believed in me when others disbelieved in me, and considered me truthful when people called me a liar. She spent on me when others deprived me, and Allah provided me with children from her while He did not allow that with any other woman. He said about Khadija. Such a beautiful description of Khadija. And he didn't say anything negative about Aisha, he just showed how amazing a woman Khadija radiallahu anha was. And then immediately Aisha apologized. She immediately apologized. He said, Ya Rasulullah, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. And what did the Prophet ﷺ do? He forgave her. He forgave her, he says, okay, and then he never mentioned it again after that one. So amazing example. Firstly, a few points there. He's showing the high station of Hazrat Khadija. She helped him really, as a woman, to give him the most emotional support, financial support when he really needed it in that point in his life. And then it's amazing to see the human side of it. Yeah, this is the Prophet of Allah, the one who's got the perfect character. We think maybe we shouldn't have arguments in our marriages and things. In his household as well, his wife's saying things to him, and they're having some argument and things, and they're crossing the line sometimes. So he shows, and then that's natural. And then someone has to apologize. That's very important as well, what Aisha did there. She apologized to him. She wasn't a proud one, like Shaitan. Shaitan hates apologizing, so we have to be able to apologize sometimes. And then the Prophet ﷺ showed the highest level of giving forgiveness. Yeah? Every marriage is based on that. Maybe we'll have hundreds of thousands of arguments, but you have to ask for forgiveness. You have to apologize, and then you forgive it. And then you don't bring it up again. Yeah? You don't the next year say, oh, that one, you remember you said that about me, I still haven't forgiven you for that, and that still hurts my heart. No, he never mentioned it again, from his mind and from his heart as well. This is a really important point for all the marriages we can learn, inshallah, from his example.
Thank you.
And maybe if you've got a few minutes, then one more hadith, one for the ladies, because I've been speaking a lot for the ladies. For the men's side, actually, there's once after he led the prayer in the masjid, the Prophet ﷺ, he went to the back. He went to the back where the ladies were to speak to the ladies, and he said, Hazrat Bilal, you accompany me. Well, the two of them went, and then he spoke to the ladies. And he says, I saw into the hellfire, my own two eyes. I looked into the hellfire, and it was full of ladies, he said. It was full of ladies. And then one of the last ladies asked, why? Why was it full of ladies? What had they done? They wanted to know what they'd done wrong, so they could not do that themselves. He said, these ladies, they were ungrateful to their husbands. That's what he said, yeah. And not tyrannical husbands who were bullying their wife. He said these were good, considerate husbands, they were kind husbands, but these ladies were ungrateful to them, he said. So it's a warning to the ladies as well, that you have to be grateful to the good husbands. And he even described it more. He says these men have done good things all their life, but they're human. We're human, yeah, sometimes they make mistakes. All their life they've been good, and then they make one mistake, and the wife said, he's always been rubbish, he's always never done one good thing in his life. Here's the Prophet was saying, yeah? They've never done one good thing in their life, and he's always done that. So he was teaching them that the ladies also sometimes have this nature of being ungrateful, so that's also a warning for the ladies to be grateful to the husbands who are good and considerate. So Ya Rabbil Alameen, forgive us, and have mercy on us. Help us to learn from these examples of the Prophet ﷺ. Every example, whether it's with our wives or husbands, or with our children, or with guests, or with enemies, even how to deal with them. And have mercy on us and protect us and our children, Ya Rabbil Alameen, and keep them on the straight path. And for those who are suffering in different parts of the world, Ya Rabbi, in Palestine, in Lebanon, Ya Allah, you're the only one who can have the solution, you're the only one who can give help and solve that problem, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Muhammed al-Habib, Muhammed al-Fatiha.